What's going on YouTube? JT is Reborn here, and welcome back to another edition to my Godzilla comic book reviews. And in this video, we're going to talk about Godzilla vs. America, Godzilla vs. Los Angeles. So this one came out at a rather interesting time because it's obviously made before the events of the Los Angeles wildfires, but because of that situation, they decided to donate the proceeds of this particular comic book to benefit those in need of that. So I thought that was kind of a nice little touch right there. So because this obviously, like I said, was made long before the whole wildfires thing. But because that happened after the fact, and now that they got this, it doesn't seem like the best timing, but you know what, we'll just take this and just kind of donate it to a good cause. And I think that's a nice touch on IDW to do something like that, like the whole proceeds go to that. So that's pretty good. And of course we have the cover here, Godzilla and the Hollywood sign and whatnot. So we have a couple of different storylines in here. We have Eye in the Sky, which is the first one. Then we have The Big Break. Then we have How to use the Los Angeles Metro to survive a Godzilla attack. And then we have Godzilla LA. God, now that kind of fits too well as like a jokey pun of sorts. But yeah, so like I said, Godzilla vs. America. So the first storyline is Eye in the Sky. And of course you can see written and illustrated by Gabriel Hardman, written by Jordan Morris, illustrated by Nicole Gu. I don't know how to pronounce it. I apologize. The Metro one is written and illustrated by Dave Baker. And then the Godzilla LA is story and art by Jay Gonzo. Additional inks by... Okay, so first storyline, again, this is an anthology thing. And I'm going to come right out and say I think the Chicago one was definitely the stronger storyline, but that one had some weird elements too. And with the anthology angle, like, you can be kind of hit or miss with, like, at least with between the two, like, Godzilla vs. America storylines. This one overall, I'll say, is just kind of all right. The first storyline is probably the first and second one are probably the two strongest. But the first one is just about these reporters reporting on a Godzilla attack in LA. And then one of the guys, like, the helicopter ends up crashing and he gets stuck and he's reporting the news from the back of Godzilla. I thought that was kind of a cool, like, way to kind of report the news. Although I don't know what the radiation fall would be. I don't know. Sometimes with Godzilla, they're like, oh, if you touch him, then radiation instantly. If you don't, then sometimes, like, it's just kind of strange how they do it. But reporting the news from the back of Godzilla as the military is trying to attack, and you get the POV from him and all that too, which is kind of a neat little touch. Ultimately, they're able to kind of get out of there, but we're kind of left with the news of Godzilla and that from his POV. So that's the first storyline. Then the second one is called The Big Break, and this is one about, like, somebody who was an aspiring actress who ends up working on basically like a Hollywood studio theme park tour guide type thing. They also kind of have jokes in that at the expense of, like, Jaws, like the Fast and Furious movies. And they had all these dreams and all that, but ultimately it was kind of crushed. And, like, they had one line in, like, a web series, but then one of the directors' famous who's on there, and they're kind of running the track. And then Godzilla shows up, and the art style here is kind of an interesting one. Godzilla's definitely scaled down quite a bit for this particular story. It's almost like the -1, like, pre-mutated, like, Godzilla design in this thing. And this person decides, you know, I'm going to help get these people out of here, and I'm just going to kind of make all sorts of puns about it. But since they helped save the director's life, they're like, hey, here you go, here's your big break. But it's really just kind of repeating the same line that they had in an earlier, like, web part thing. So that's kind of the ironic punchline of the joke. So, and then the third one is a storyline about Godzilla, like, trying to survive an attack using the Metro system or whatever. I don't know, it's kind of a strange one. Like, this one, there's a lot of it's very wordy. And as I was reading it, I was starting to think of, like, boy, I'm thinking of the movie Roger Rabbit. And then the issue literally says something along the lines of, where is it? Also, yes, this was inspiration for the plot to Roger Rabbit. You're very smart. So I'm like, dang it, like, okay, you got me there. Like, that was probably the moment that stood out to me the most of this whole thing, as I was thinking of it, because they're explaining, like, the whole red car thing in LA and all that too. And then all of a sudden I kept thinking of Roger Rabbit, and then the issue directly, like a minute later, references that. So, all right, you got me there. But yeah, it's basically kind of like a survival guide type thing. Not really strong on the story front and the artwork. Like, I wish it was colored a little bit differently, but hey, you know what? It got me with the Roger Rabbit joke, so that's kind of neat and such. So again, it's a quick little anthology thing. And then the last storyline is a bunch of people in LA, and they build their own mechanized robot and use special effects and sorts to fight against Godzilla. And they kind of use some tech to kind of trick Godzilla into thinking there's 3 of these robots, but then he's like, nah, I'm kind of cool with that. And ultimately, the people of LA are kind of saved thanks to their giant robot, and Godzilla just kind of left and such. And then there's the tease for the next issue, Godzilla vs. Boston. And of course, there is a nice little tribute at the very end talking about this thing and like supporting towards a good cause and such. So I can't be too harsh on a comic book for doing something like that. But again, it's one of these anthology things, and much like when I cover the DC ones, you're not always going to get this. It's not necessarily the strongest stuff IDW has done. These are quick little goofy anthology things kind of mixed into one complete storyline. It's totally serviceable, but I appreciate that it's all being donated towards like a good cause. And I do think the Chicago one was a little bit better, but this one wasn't like too bad. I think, like I said, the first storyline had the angle of like the reporter on the back of Godzilla reporting the news. I thought that was kind of a neat little touch. And then the second storyline kind of had a funny punchline at the end of it. The third one was more like an instruction manual, which I guess that was kind of the point of it all, but like it wasn't like the strongest like storyline to kind of get me as invested. And then the final storyline, Godzilla fights a robot, so I guess that's pretty cool, but also kind of like, you know, it's not anything that's going to leave like a huge long-lasting impact on me after reading it. So, but I do appreciate the comic going towards a good cause of the whole LA Fires thing. But in terms of like the series, this is one that I just felt like was just kind of all right as a whole. Not the strongest in this series. I mean, we only had 2 issues so far. We'll have to see how the Boston issue is, but like I said, like nothing that really like gripped me like some of the other stuff that I've gotten when it comes to IDW, like the Here There Be Aliens series. I mean, obviously that's like a long form storyline. You have more real estate to tell the storyline, but that's just something that just kind of hooked me like right from the get-go. So, but this one, like I said, is just more so on the all right spectrum, but you do get some cool Godzilla stuff here and there. So appreciate it for that, I suppose. But yeah, that's gonna wrap it up for all my Godzilla and like versus like comic books for the week and such. I am all caught up with the comic book reviews for today. It is also Mother's Day, so for those, you know, celebrating, got the moms all out there, happy Mother's Day to you all. I hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out, everyone.